Okay, so I said I was going to nap this on video. If I remember correctly, I said, ooh, this is nice hornstone. So, I don't know what I'm going to make. It's getting a little late, so I'm just going to wing it. As usual. Got to make a video. Little acorns bugging me all day. Got thousands of them this year. All right, let's see. Yeah, and I was napping earlier. I was hearing this crunching sound in the background, and there was a deer in the yard munching the acorns. I didn't know they did that. I didn't know they did that. Yeah, shells and everything, just crunching, crunching, crunch. So, yeah, this is nice material. Just a little bit of music in the background. Hopefully it won't be just too distracting. A little bit of celebration going on. I'm postponing the auction for one day. Yep, I tried to do a quick video. For some reason I couldn't say Tuesday instead of Wednesday. Auction's Tuesday. Anyway, not a big deal. Ooh, that's nice. Nice colors. It's a little dark so you can't see. Oh well. I got 2 lamps. Yeah, 2 lamps on and I still can't see. Well, the colors don't show up all that great. So, as I'm doing this, something that everyone's seen 100 times, I can talk about stuff. Yep. Stuff and more stuff. Okay. That flake release, I didn't even feel it. Usually I can tell if a flake releases. Now where is this biface from? From discards. Or, incompletes from other people. Trying to figure out why they would abandon these. These are modern nappers that are making these and leaving them for later, or just giving up on them. Maybe too small. Usually they're too small for their taste. They get them whittled down to little almonds and stuff. This one was a good size, pretty good size, so it's a mystery why they abandoned such a nice piece. I'm trying to make some paleo points, or I was trying to earlier. Whole different mindset. I got to spend the whole week on paleo points if I want to get them right. If I want to get them to look right. And takes too long. Takes way too long. So I'm just going to nap some regular stuff. Regular. So this is the easy part. You save these. You can save them up and then nap them. That's what I like doing. Now I do. Right? Before, when I first started, I used to go from start to finish. I had to finish what I started. I couldn't just set it aside and nap later, but now I can do it. And I've advised people before to just nap a bunch of preforms and then go back to them later, because then you'll get experience. You'll get experience napping the preforms and general napping experience, and then you can go back and tweak it a little bit when you finish them. Tweak your napping experience a little bit. I used to say that. What do I say now? What do I say now? It's a good question. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Everyone tries to bite off more than they can chew. Going for the gusto right away. How do I thin? I've been doing this 2 weeks. How do I thin it down? Yeah, that kind of thing. How do I thin them down? I've been doing it 2 weeks and they don't get any thinner. In fact, they get thicker. I start with a 1/2 inch, or I start with 3-to-1 odds, width to thickness ratio. And then when I'm finished, I have like 1-to-1. Yeah. What do I do? Well, you know the formula, right? You got to send flakes more than halfway. If you're not doing that, you're not thinning. More than halfway across. That's the secret. If you're not doing that, you're not thinning. How do I thin? How does everyone thin? Flakes got to go more than halfway. So that should be the question. How do I get flakes to go more than halfway across the front of the piece? Across the face. How do I get these? After lots and lots of practice. That's how. It's a sport. Flintknapping is a sport. Yeah, it's a skill. So is ice skating. Ice skating is a skill, but it's more of a sport. See, I've been ice skating for 2 weeks, and I want to do a jump and spin. Yeah, after 2 weeks, 3 weeks. For some reason, people understand that you can't really ask that question. Why am I not an expert skater after 2 or 3 weeks? Why? They don't ask that question, but they ask it in Flintknapping. It's perfectly natural. It seems like a handicraft and not a sport. It seems that way. So in your mind, in your thought experiments, you're thinking handicraft, something you do with your hands. That's where the name comes from. And a lot of the new guys, they do all kinds of things handy. They're handy with all sorts of stuff. Yeah. They can make anything. Give me a piece of wood, I can make anything. Give me a piece of steel, I can make anything. So they say to themselves, yeah, give me a piece of rock, I can make anything. And all of a sudden, whoops, what's up? What's the matter? Can't be any different than rock it can't be any different than wood or some other material. What's up? It's because it's a sport. Yep. One of these days I'll write a Flintknapping book, right? One of my first lines in the book is going to be Flintknapping is a sport. You manage risk. A lot of mistakes. Practice over and over again to get good. A lot of unexpected things can happen. Your physical and mental health will affect your napping. Hand-eye coordination. That sort of thing. It'll affect it. It'll affect you. You have to be physically and mentally healthy enough to participate in this sport. Otherwise, you're going to suffer. You're going to get confused. That's why humans took so long to develop Flintknapping. You know, back in the day, the hominids were making these primitive stone tools, and you would think after a couple generations they would get it. They'd start making all kinds of nice stuff. No, it took them hundreds of thousands of years because it's a part of the brain that has to be developed. They say, or they've done tests on which parts of the brain are engaged when you're in an activity like this. And it happens to be a lot of work done by the frontal cortex. Yeah. They've hooked these machines up to monitor where the blood is flowing when people are Flintknapping. I don't know what video I saw, but they've done tests. Yeah, frontal cortex. The decision-making centers of the brain are engaged. The regulatory center of the brain to know what to do, what to strategize. What strategy to invent. When to start, when to stop. Higher cognition. So did the human brain develop because of Flintknapping, or did Flintknapping develop because of the human brain? Wise guys out there will say, it's both. It's both. Yeah, probably so. Wise guys are right this time. They both had to develop together. How do I approach my Flintknapping? What is my secret? What is the secret? Not just mine. What is the secret? After a while, you get used to making flakes. After a while, you combine your muscle memory with your strategizing, with your decision maker in your brain, in your frontal cortex. You know, the frontal cortex is examining I'm flipping this around, I'm examining, I'm looking at the step fracture, I'm going, you know, what's the next thing to do? I know how to hit flakes off, but where? Where do I hit the flake off? Do I leave this like that, or do I remove it now? Do I leave this original flake scar there, or do I remove it? If I'm just making this for a tool, if I'm just making a tool, I don't really care that there's an original flake scar there. It's all flat. It'll be unifacial. I don't really care. So the strategy is just do whatever it takes to make the point. Don't worry about doing whatever it takes to make it fully flaked. Fully flaked is secondary. In fact, it's probably not even all that important. Yeah. So, I mean, this is very, very nice material. The thing is, when you start to do the thin flakes, terminations are not that great. Even with excellent material, these terminations will get finicky. I can come back to that later. What am I going to make with it? Let's see. What am I going to make out of it? Well, let me think. If I already have a cultural type of item from my culture, it's not a, you don't think about that part. You don't think, what am I going to make? It's always the same thing. So it's important in the culture to have something already available. Saves time. You know, someone's already decided, or someone's inspired everybody to do a certain way, to do it a certain way. It becomes efficient. Now, I was talking on the other video about what's my job. You know, back in the day, what would be my job? And I said to you guys that my job would be killing predators, defending against attack, gathering firewood, and yada yada. But as time goes on and people get older, they can't be participating in the hunt, so what do? They teach. So back in the day, not only did you have to do everything else, you had to teach the next generation. And you don't send them off to someone else to get taught. You got to spend time doing it yourself. Yeah. And then to have a good environment for teaching, the adults cannot be overburdened with stress or other things. You got to have time to teach. All right, so we developed agriculture. Even though it's labor intensive, it's not as labor intensive as hunting and gathering. And it produces more food, especially for feeding children. Children can tolerate the types of food that you can grow, grains and stuff like that. As you get older, you tolerate that stuff less and less. That's kids' food. But it's important while you are raising children to have an available food source. Saves time. You can store it. Preserve the food for a long time. In the modern day and age, we're forced to have two incomes in a household instead of one. In most cultures, well, I can't say most. In a lot of cultures, we need two incomes instead of one. So who is teaching the children? Well, we leave that to others, and that's where we run into problems. Yep, I took it for granted that my children would be fine in being taught by others. And it's fine as long as everyone's got good intentions. Yeah. As long as. So, where am I going? Let me see. No, just kind of random thoughts. We all want to know what happened back in the day. What made us to what we are? Who are we? And why did we develop the way we did? And why are we the way we are? Is there a way that we can live without being mentally ill all the time? It's a serious question. Lots of serious questions. Do we want to live? I had that subject came up in an earlier video, you know. Eating meat, eating things that want to live. Plants want to live too. They just want to in a different way. They defend themselves through different mechanisms than us of us, than the ones that have brains. The plants develop toxins and physical defenses like thorns and whatnot because they want to live. We talked about social media. One of the dangers of social media is it starts to question. It starts to put ideas in your head. You know, conversations on social media bring up the question, do you want to live? Why do you want to live? And if you're eating things that want to live, how does that make you feel? Well, thinking about that sort of stuff gets you kind of upset. And people that bring that up know it makes you upset. That's why they bring it up. Because they know that if you are emotional, you're going to be not very good at arguing. So it looks like they can win an argument by making you all flustered, upset. Because some people are malicious and they know they can use words to hurt. Yeah. Did I think that would be the purpose of a lot of these places online? I can remember when there was no online conversations. There weren't these geniuses that knew how to upset you. They are genius at learning and implementing their ways to get you thinking about, well, do I want to live or not? It's a serious question. I joke about it. I'm kind of detached from the question, but it's a very important thing. What has that got to do with Flintknapping? How does it tie into this kind of stuff, making these tools? This is a reflection of us wanting to live. Yeah. We can feed ourselves with this sort of stuff. If you start calling into question why? You start listening to people who are trying to get you upset. You start questioning, why do I want to live? That wasn't really much of a question before. And now as I'm getting older, I'm going to have to address the question, because I'm seeing my kids get older, become adults. They will have children, probably. So it's important. It's an important thing. I didn't have much parental guidance when I was growing up. And just like many people, because we're all in the same boat. We're not trained. We're not taught how to be parents. Why are we not trained and taught how to be parents? Well, because there are now institutions that take that responsibility unto themselves and figure out how to capitalize on it. Yep. But I will not go in any further into that subject. I'm concerned mainly with Flintknapping on this channel. But there's a lot of things we can discuss that are related to making systems that help us to survive. This is part of a system of survival. These points made of stone. Part of a system for survival. Very old system, but it still works. You can still do it. It's getting increasingly more and more difficult to do this, to be self-sufficient. It's a lost art, these kind of things. Why is that? I've got to answer the question. If someone asks me, why are we not focused on self-reliance or knowledge? Why is there such thing as lost arts? Why are they lost? They're not useful anymore? Well, yeah. I mean, we can just go to the supermarket now. That's why. Don't need it. It's weird. Yeah. I think, there's an old saying, I don't know how old it is, but, civilization is, or how do I say this? The Stone Age is like 3 weeks away from a breakdown of civilization. It only takes about 3 weeks for a civilization to crumble to nothing. If we lose, let's say we lose electricity, all of it. Everything electrical is no longer useful. How long will it take to go back to the Stone Age? I've seen 3 weeks as an estimate, where we all had to rely on ourselves to gather food and do everything. Yep. Okay. So that's a pretty generic point. I can do it in 30 minutes. So I mentioned before in a different video that 30 minutes is how long I think it took on average, with the average napper, using the average material, with the average stone tools, average knowledge, 30 minutes to make one of these projectile points. And I'm used to this already. The thickness it's haftable, right? And I'm so used to it that I can have a pre-made foreshaft with a notch in it. I don't even have to test it, because I can pretty much know that that's going to fit. And it doesn't take long for that sort of thing to sink in and to know. So 30 minutes, yeah. But one of these points can be made, in my opinion, between 15 minutes to 45 minutes. Notches, I consider that fully flaked, even though it's a unifacial. It'll fit a foreshaft, pre-made. Edge is sharp, ready to go. Okay. Let's see. I need a better backdrop. I got this little pouch here. It's all covered with sawdust. But that'll work. Okay, that's it.